Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Five Stripes Tonight for this Friday, July 16th, 2021. My name is Sydney Hunt. I am an editor and writer at Dirty South Soccer, as well as MLSsoccer.com. You can find me on Twitter at SHWrites, SHWrites. And let's just say it has been an eventful weekend for our Atlanta United. A lot to talk about, I'll say, a lot to talk about. And I'm glad to have you all on board with me to talk about it. We're streaming live on the Dirty South Soccer YouTube channel and not Instagram channel, but the Facebook channel. Of course, for everything Atlanta United related, log on to DirtySouthSoccer.com. You can also follow Dirty South Soccer at Dirty South SOC. Like I said, there is quite a bit to talk about in ATL UTD world, to say the least. Oh, by the way, there is a match against the top team of the Eastern Conference, the New England Revolution, to talk about. So no shortage of topics to talk about this evening. If you want to chime in, if you have any questions at all about Atlanta United or the match, feel free to chime in. We have our comments open on Facebook and YouTube. Chris Kilroy on Facebook says, "Sir, if you're going to give me more bad news, then I don't want to hear it." Actually, Chris, I only know what you're hearing at this point in time, so I have no additional bad news to give you. I guess that's the good news. The bad news is things have been pretty eventful in Atlanta United world this week, as I said just a few minutes ago. And of course, the big story being Josef Martinez is training apart from the main Atlanta United squad, which kind of is contradicting what Darren Neal said, that he was training with the club to build up his fitness. But as it turned out, and as Gabriel Heinze said yesterday, again, he's training away from the club, and it's not in relation to his fitness. So that set off just a ton of speculation as to what's going on. Is it disciplinary? Is it a rift between manager and player? Which, if it is, I mean, goodness, I don't think you want to fight with the best player on your team. I don't think you want to get into battle with really a club icon, a player that has meant so much, not just to Atlanta United, but to really the Atlanta sports world in general. One of the most iconic sports figures in Atlanta United, or Atlanta sports history, of modern sports history, right up there with, I would say, like Julio Jones, your Chipper Jones, your Trey Youngs, people like that. And again, I'm talking about like modern history. Hank Aaron, Chipper, all those other guys have a place in history of their own. But when you talk about modern Atlanta sports history, even for those who don't follow soccer all that much, Josef Martinez has a strong place in the Atlanta United. Yeah, with Atlanta United, but within Atlanta sports annals, and he's transcended his status with Atlanta United and become a key icon, like I said, in Atlanta sports as a whole. So, I mean, it's just what a situation, what a bizarre situation. And Parker and Rob and Alex, they've been doing a fantastic job on Dirty South Soccer, covering it from all angles. So go to DirtySouthSoccer.com for all the latest. But I kind of want to give my brief thoughts on it. Like I said just a few minutes ago, you don't want to go to battle with the best player on your club, because it won't turn out for you well. I mean, already I'm seeing on social media, Heinze is catching a lot of flack from fans, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, right? I mean, this is a guy who's come into a situation where it's his first job in the MLS, and he said, early on that he really evaluated this roster from top to bottom. And he was the first person to say, I don't know a whole lot about MLS, But I have done my due diligence. I have looked at the roster. I have looked at the player profiles, things like that. So when he arrived, again, there's still a lot to learn, like with the salary cap, player acquisition, things of that nature. But he came in, having done his homework, we would hope, having looked at each player, having gotten a little feel of how each player responds. But it seems like the ship's starting to head toward the Titanic a little bit. I mean, the club, granted, and I was talking to this with a friend the other day, granted, they've only lost twice this season. But, I mean, the way they've lost, I mean, they had two 2-0 leads to two different opponents, and they blew them both. I actually want to correct that. 3 losses. I beg your pardon. They've lost 3 times. They're 2-3-7 on the season. So if you hold on to those 2 matches where you had those 2-0 leads, you're looking at a 4-1 and 5 club and playoff position. And my math could be wrong. I'm doing it on the fly. So, but that's 2 wins right there. That should have been 2 matches that should have been wins. 2 matches that should have been wins, and Atlanta unfortunately got lazy defending at the end of the match, and it cost them in the end. And it's unfortunate. But I mean, this is a club that hasn't been very good over the past couple of years. I would say, over the past couple of years. I mean, they were awful last year. Things just really fell apart. That disastrous showing at the MLS Back tournament in Orlando last year, the less said the better about that. That cost Frank DeBoer his job. But things weren't much better after that. As Joseph, of course, was injured in the season opener against Nashville SC at Nissan Stadium. Things just went downhill after that. I mean, this is a club that even that has long shown. I mean, I will say going back to when Joseph was injured a few years back, Tito Villalba who stepped in and did very well as a backup striker. We don't have that on this roster. There's nobody on this roster that can step up and has shown that he can step up and take over the scoring mantle for Joseph. And it's very troubling for a club that has staked his claim as saying, we want to be one of the big clubs, not just in MLS, not just in North America, but the world. And right now, it just seems like a whole lot of bluster, a whole lot of words. Brad Guzan, who I respect, says, time in and time out, we want to be one of the big clubs. It's not looking like it. They're not playing like it. Their culture is not reflecting that they want to be a big club. They look like right now a middle of the table team, if that. And they're not scaring anybody. 2017 to 2018, they were the talk of the town, the talk of MLS. People outside of Atlanta were like, goodness, we've had enough of Atlanta United. We're tired of hearing about Atlanta United because it seemed like that's all MLSsoccer.com wrote about. But can you blame them? Because they were a well-run team. They had tremendous players. Miguel Almiron, probably the best player in Atlanta United history, not named Josef Martinez, and one of the best players in MLS ever. Certainly in this past decade. Back-to-back best 11 seasons. Of course, he went to the Premier League to play for Newcastle, of course. But then you look at Tito Villalba, who got run off by Frank DeBoer, P.T. Martinez, who didn't work out, Ezekiel Barco, who we still we still don't know what to make of him. And the list goes on and on with these DPs, and Parker wrote about it on this afternoon. It's been more hits than misses. It's been more misses than hits in the DP department. I mean, Alan Franco, who you were probably talking about as your starting center back, is injured. We don't know much about him, and even if he does come back, I mean, how are you going to take Anton Walks off the sheet, the form he's in right now? I mean, it's good. I'm really glad to see that for Anton. Right, he's a link to the past. He's a strong link for this club's past. He's part of the expansion season, and I'm so glad they brought him back because he's turned into the guy just oozes leadership qualities. He is dripping with leadership qualities, and he's really asserted himself throughout the season as a captain material, a future captain for this team. He wore the armband the other night against Nashville SC, and I don't think it's the last time he will. The guy just oozes, like I said, leadership qualities, and you see players like that. Miles Robinson, who's done well, George Bell, who's done well, Santiago Sosa, who's done very well in this first season, Brooks Lennon, who has blossomed under Heinze, who's done well under Heinze this season. Having said that, where's the attacking prowess for this team? Who's the player that can step up, take the match by the scruff of the neck and say, this is ours to lose? Who is that player that can help Atlanta United catch the same form that they had 2017 and 2018? Because like I said, they're not sneaking up on anybody right now. I mean, look where they are in the standings. They haven't found anybody to, like I said, take that mantle from Josef. Kubal Torres has been a disaster. I mean, he's far from the Kubal Torres that played for Chivas USA and to some extent Houston Dynamo. I mean, how do you not have the presence of mind to not commit a handball of that nature in the box and concede the penalty for your team? I mean, they teach you that kind of thing at the lowest level, but now you have Torres. I don't know if he's in his own head or he's pressing or whatever. You have to have the presence of mind to know better. And I mean, he's done precious little for this club during his time here. Is it time to turn the page and let Jackson Conway loose? Hopefully it is, but Heinze's just shown that he's just stubborn. He doesn't want to change. He said it a few weeks ago, "No, I don't want to change anything." And I think this is part of it. It's gotten him in trouble numerous times. It's gotten him, I think, in trouble, especially with his training procedures. And you're seeing it with the players that have week in and week out have been injured. I mean, look at this list. Mo Adams, granted, he got hurt against Nashville, so we'll keep him off the list for now, but he's out. Alex DeJohn, questionable. He got hurt against Nashville, so we won't count him either. Barco, Belg, and Robinson, we won't count them. Hyman, we won't count him because he got injured. No, we'll count him. He got injured in training. I beg your pardon. But Sosa, Ibarra, lower body injury, or Sosa, I'm sorry, yellow card accumulation for Sosa. So scratch him off the list, but he won't play. Ibarra, lower body injury. Franco, Dom, Josetu, lower body injuries, all four, I believe. But to this list, I mean, look at it. 8 players are out. Four in international duty, I will say, but 4 of those players, not on their own accord, have been injured, and all but one has been a result of in-game injuries. Like I said, Adams injured throughout the match, but Ibarra, Hyndman, leg injuries. Franco, Dam, Josetu, lower body. I will take it as leg injuries. The club's not saying much, but I mean that's his training. His training has put a lot of these players in a position where they can't succeed, where they can't be healthy. And like I said, he said it in the past, I'm not going to change anything. I mean, he has to. Look at where this club is right now. He has to change something, or the front office will change it for him, I'm afraid. And right now, the front office hasn't covered itself in glory, to be honest with you. But that's another topic for another day. And now you're seeing Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic, who does an excellent job as always. We always appreciate everything Felipe does for the soccer community at large. But half hour before I came on, multiple sources telling him, Josef wants out. He wants out. And after this season, this is going to be, we're going to have this conversation all over again. Who does Atlanta bring in as that next Josef Martinez? I mean, could it be Jackson Conway? We don't know. I mean, I want to see Jackson Conway get a shot, but to pretend that he'll be the next Josef Martinez is very optimistic. I mean, I think he could be a good player at MLS, but to pretend that he'll be the next Josef Martinez is a tough ask for anybody. And a lot of people were saying, I have faith in the front office throughout the first 3 years when we saw kind of these moves being made where, you wonder, hey, which way are we going? I don't know if the fans trust the front office that much to make a decision as to who will be that striker for this club come 2022. If these reports from Felipe come out to be or end up being on target, and he's been pretty on target in the past. But goodness, I mean, it's awful. It's awful. This is not the Atlanta United we know. This is a shell of Atlanta United. This is a team that is scraping away for results and is missing players left and right, and it's not the free-flowing attacking team that we're used to, that a lot of times we're able to score goals for fun in matches. And again, they're not sneaking up at anybody. And Parker made a good point. A person like Arthur Blank, who built the Home Depot into the most successful home improvement chain in the world, that has to wear on him. He has to be taking a look at that. I mean, a lot of Falcon fans will be a little skeptical because of what's going on with the Falcons, but at the same time, you hope that Arthur Blank is able to step in and say, hey, this isn't good enough. My vision is for this club to be one of the best run in the world, not just in North America, not just in the United States, but the world. And so far, not so far, but over the past couple of seasons, it's been all talk and no action. And now it looks like it's come to a head with Josef Martinez looking like he will be leaving the club in 2021, at the end of 2021, a place where he said, this is my Barcelona. He loves this city. He's been embraced as, again, an icon in the city. And unfortunately, Gabriel Heinze has appeared to push him off to the side and just cast him aside like he's nothing. And this won't end well, I'm afraid. I'm afraid this won't end well at all. And it remains to be seen what that ending is. All right, we've talked about this for the past about 20 minutes, so we'll switch gears. I'll take some of your questions here. Do you think, Austin says on Facebook, do you think this will end up being resolved peacefully by all sides, or do you think something will happen with transfer alone? Very disturbing. This incident is not the type of culture that us as fans, the front office, have all worked to build towards. I definitely agree. And I hope that it ends up being resolved peacefully by all sides. I certainly hope it does. But at this point in time, as I'm sitting here, July 16th, 2021, it doesn't look like it. And hopefully things change. Hopefully things change, not just for the sake of Josef Martinez and the fans, but Atlanta United as a whole, because things don't look to be getting better anytime soon, the least of which being the player availability, as I already talked about a few minutes ago. All right, let's take another question. Daniel Graham saying on YouTube, switching to the lineups, and of course I showed you that long list of players unavailable for Atlanta United tomorrow, either unavailable or out, questionable for Atlanta United tomorrow. Daniel saying, will Amar Sejdic start at the 6 or 8? I don't think he will be a 6. I don't think he will be a 6. I think, yes, he will start. I mean, he really has no choice. I mean, the lack of depth on this roster right now with so many players being out, I think he does start, Daniel. And thank you for your question, by the way. I think he is at 6. Obviously not in the mold like for like as a Darlington Nagbe because Nagbe is in the class all by himself. I don't think anyone is expecting him to be Darlington Nagbe. At this point in time, I think they're just expecting him to fill a void that's missing, fill that spot that has been vacated by a ton of players who have, like I said, are out or are questionable for Atlanta United. So yeah, I think he starts. I think he starts as a 6, and we'll see how he does. Sejdic, of course, coming from CF Montreal. CF Montreal in Canada, and he is born in. Well, he's been raised in the U.S. I may have that wrong. He's either born in the U.S. or raised in the U.S., but either way, he does not have. He has a green card, so he does not count against LA United's international slots. Yes, he was born in Germany, but he's been in the U.S. since he was 4, so he's been raised here in the United States. But again, he does not require an international slot, so that's good news for Atlanta United. Speaking of moves, I mean, let's hope that this isn't the only move Atlanta United makes. Let's hope that we see some other moves being made to strengthen this team. And you wonder, maybe 1 or 2 players are out. Maybe they're out. I couldn't tell you which ones at this point in time here in the middle of the secondary window. But no, let's hope that there are some other faces that, again, are able to help this team and help them right away. Not the least of which being scoring. They definitely need scoring in a bad way. And is it a player like I said, Conway? Is it a player like Eric Lopez? Somebody like that? Who fills that void? Kubo certainly hasn't cut it. I don't see how Kubo has a starting role on this team anymore. I honestly don't. Maybe you guys feel differently, but I don't. I mean, granted, he's done good work from what I've heard. He's helped Jackson Conway immensely on the training ground, and give him credit for that. I think maybe a coaching role or something like that, or academy role as he's kind of filling right now. More of that to come when he leaves the club, when he retires. But as a player, I think you're squeezing water out of his stone, and you're not going to get too much more from him. You're not going to get more from him than he's already shown, I don't think. Karen saying on Facebook, I'm wondering if Joseph is trying to stick up for the players. I'm wondering if Joseph is trying to stick up for the players. And talking about the injuries of the younger players, especially if he's coming from his ACL injury. If that's the case, Heinze won't budge. I'm worried for the team. I don't know if he's. You know what? That's a good point. Maybe he has kind of put his foot down and said, "Hey, you got to change this training process." You see guys, falling with lower body injuries, ACLs, things like that. Maybe Joseph said, "Look, you have to change something, Gabi. You have to change something." And maybe Heinze said, "You know what, my way or the highway," or something like that. And things fell apart from there. Who knows? Who knows? Tata Martino, when he started out was very stubborn, but to his credit, I mean, he changed. He changed. He was adaptable. He molded. I don't see that with Heinze right now. And it seems like it's caused friction between Joseph and his coach. And Karen, you bring up a good point. Now that I think about it, yeah, maybe Joseph did say something. And Heinze pretty much asserted as well as the coach. I mean, granted, he is the coach. I mean, what he says goes, but he has to be open to some extent what the players want. He has to be receptive to constructive criticism. And right now, it doesn't look like he is at this point in time. Alex saying on YouTube, DC is moving to 3-5-2 in the future, especially with Bella's success at left wing back last night. I think they stay where they are right now, four-man backfield. I think when Bella returns, it's going to be the same as it was. Bella on the left, Lennon on the right, and then Robinson and Waltz your center back. So I think it still holds that four-man back line. So I don't know if you see a change to the formation or anything like that. Maybe they experiment here and there, but I don't. Like I said, Heinze is very set in his ways, very stubborn as to how he runs things, not just in training, but informationally. I don't think he'll change. He said, I'm not changing anything. But again, you have to show that willingness to change. You have to show that willingness to adapt to MLS, adapt to the game, adapt to opponents you face on a weekly basis. And, it's frustrating. This Atlanta United side is a shell of its former self, and I don't think anyone can argue against that. Kevin B saying on YouTube, do you think we will still be having this discussion about Gabby had we not coughed up points against Nashville and Philly earlier this season? I mean, I don't know if we are to this extent. I think part of it is stemming from that, a lot of frustration from, I just talked about Atlanta United unable to hold leads against Nashville and Philly. That's 2 points dropped, 4 points dropped, total of 4 points dropped out of a possible 6. And at the end of the season, matches like that are those you look back on and say, gosh, I wish we would have had those 2 points. I wish we would have had those 4 points. So I think to some extent, maybe we are having this discussion, but not nearly to the extent we are having now, because like I said, there's a lot of frustration, not just in the front office, but in the fan base, among the players, etc. They play. They aren't fans. They play the game each and every day. And, I don't think we'd be having this discussion nearly to the same extent. I think it's frustration that has boiled over to the point where the player who has, again, become an icon of this city, an icon for this club, has been cast aside by his manager. And like I said, at this point in time, I don't see this ending in a way that will be peaceful for either side. Kind of answering the question from earlier. So I want to get into the New England Revolution a little bit before I go. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, by the way, we have the match tomorrow against New England, or on Saturday if you're watching this later. But tomorrow, 5 p.m., ESPN, Adrian Healy, Alejandro Moreno called the match nationally, so that's a national TV game. And then only got 24 points, top of the Eastern Conference table, 5 points back of Seattle Sounders FC for the Supporters Shield standings. 7 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 22 goals scored, 18 goals against, 22 goals scored. It's the highest total in the Eastern Conference. They'll be missing a few players themselves. Tejan Buchanan and Matt Turner, of course, are with Canada and the United States, respectively, for Gold Cup. Luis Caicedo, I beg your pardon, has a lower body injury. He'll not be playing tomorrow for New England. Players to watch for, of course, Gustavo Buo, who has had a tremendous season, MVP caliber season, 6 goals, 2 assists. Or I would say, I beg your pardon, yeah, Buo has had a tremendous season as well, 6 goals through 11 matches. But Carlos Hill is having really an MVP caliber season, a tremendous campaign thus far, 2 goals, but 10 assists, as he is becoming, or is at this point in time, probably one of the best playmakers in MLS, if not the best player or playmakers in MLS. A DP signing that Atlanta United apparently missed on, but we can talk about that another time. But I mean, you look at other DPs. I mean, I didn't mention Adam Buxa, DP signing, 5 goals this season. Abuo, 6 goals. Hito, 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points through 13 matches. I mean, where is that for Atlanta United? And when you look at players like that succeeding elsewhere, you wonder how Atlanta United were able to miss. Why couldn't they bring those players in? I can name off other DPs around the league that they just didn't evaluate or didn't rate enough to bring in. But I mean, I'm not holding my breath for anything promising tomorrow. I will add as well, in the absence of Turner, it looks like Brett Knighton will get the start in net for New England. But I wouldn't hold my breath for a positive result against New England, especially after the last match. And Bruce Arena apparently ripped a new one of the locker room, and he was very upset. They lost to Toronto 3-2 at home at Gillette Stadium. They've had to sit on that for the last 10 days, 10 days. And Bruce Arena very upset. And that spilled over into the press conference after the match. I mean, we know Bruce is probably one of the most ornery characters in MLS as it is in American soccer as a whole. But, I mean, I don't think it was a pleasant scene of the New England locker room after that match, after they lost 3-2 to Toronto. So they've been sitting on that for the past 10 days, and they'll be out to prove that was just a blip on the radar screen and not something to expect from them moving forward. I think it's 3-1, a 3-1 scoreline in favor of New England. I think you'll see Bua and Heel certainly make their marks on this match. They're too good a team to drop 2 matches in a row against clubs they should easily beat. I think this will be another tough one for Atlanta United. 3-1. New England is my predicted scoreline. If you guys have your own predictions, drop them in the chat. I'll read them off as the night progresses within these last few minutes of the show. Cynthia, I appreciate it. Just thank you for. So glad you're doing this live. I think we all feel we're in need of being together and sitting up for Joseph. Yeah, it's been a while since I've come on, so I'm glad that we're able to do this live as well, Cynthia. I was already planning on doing this live or coming on this week. I know I was off the last few weeks due to the holiday and the international break. But yeah, back at it this week. Hopefully back at it next week as well. We're trying to work on the guests as LA United take on Columbus Crew SC next Saturday. Try to work on the guest, landing a guest that I think you all will like, but more on that to come. Hopefully we can get it working. Hopefully we can get it together, but more to come on that next week at really new time, 7 p.m. here on the Dirty South Soccer YouTube and Facebook channels. One other note before we get out of here tonight. Atlanta United 2 taking on Louisville City FC Saturday night in Louisville at Lynn Family Stadium, 7:30 p.m. kickoff from Louisville. Louisville City, of course, one of the top teams in the USL Championship since they started. 7 wins, 7-3-2 record, 23 points. They are toward the top of the Central Division, I believe. I have it here in my notes, but I can't find it at this current point in time, unfortunately. But Atlanta United, 3-5-5, 14 points on the season. And again, Louisville City, year in, year out, one of the top teams in the USL Championship. And yeah, taking a look at the Central Division standings, as I said. But yeah, Louisville City at the top of the Central Division, 23 points. LA United, 14 points. They're 5th in the Central Division. And with a result tomorrow, with a draw or a win, they'll be in the playoff spot pending what Indy 11 does in their next match. Really impressed with the job that Jack Carlson has done in this first season with Atlanta United 2. Looks like he has really helped this team grow and put together some solid results. You know, they drew in the 11 last match, drew Memphis 9-1 match before that. I'm sorry, the last match they lost to Sporting Kansas City 2. And then that came after back-to-back draws. So right now they are on a 6-match. They have got 6 matches without a win. They have dropped 2 matches in that span and drawn the other. I'm sorry, 3 matches in that span and drawn the other 4. They are, like I said, a 6-match winless streak. Hopefully that ends tomorrow. Hopefully they can get themselves a result against a really tough opponent, Louisville City FC, a club that, again, has shown its quality year in and year out. And as one of the best fan bases in the USL Championship. So yeah, tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. You won't miss anything if you watch Atlanta United. 7:30 USL start. You won't miss anything. Like I said, if you watch Atlanta United, that's a 5 p.m. kickoff again on ESPN. Alejandro Moreno is calling the match again with Adrian Healy, of course, on the radio. 9-9 the game with Mike Conti and Jason Longshore. That is going to do it for me, this episode of Five Stripes Tonight. You can follow me again at SHWrites, SHWRITES. And for the latest Atlanta United news, information, and opinion, log in to DirtySouthSoccer.com. Follow Dirty South Soccer at Dirty South SOC. And of course, like Dirty South Soccer on Facebook. Until next time, Sydney Hunt. Hope you have a great night, and we'll catch you next time right here on Five Stripes Tonight. Take care, everyone.